Money does not change people, it reveals them. What money really does is turn up the volume on who you already are. It doesn't plant new values inside a person, it exposes the ones that were hidden when resources were limited. When someone has nothing, they can pretend, perform, and survive. But when money enters the picture, the mask comes off. The generous become more generous. The disciplined become more disciplined. And the selfish, the careless, the reckless, those traits don't disappear, they get amplified. Money removes the excuses and exposes the truth. When people say money changed them, what they are really saying is, I finally saw who they truly were. Money gives options, and choices reveal character. With options, you see how a person treats people who can't give them anything. You see whether they chase status or build substance. You see whether they use money to serve, to grow, to uplift, or to control, to impress, and to escape. Scarcity hides flaws because survival forces humility. Abundance tests integrity. Money also exposes your relationship with yourself. If you don't trust yourself, money will make you anxious. If you lack discipline, money will disappear faster than it arrived. If you seek validation, money will turn into a costume instead of a tool. But if you have clarity, structure, and purpose, money becomes an amplifier of your mission. It doesn't corrupt character, it magnifies it. It simply obeys the mindset holding it. That's why some people win the lottery and lose everything, while others build wealth slowly and keep it for generations. The difference is not the amount of money, it's the person holding it. Money does not give direction, it follows direction. It does not create leadership, it follows leadership. It does not build identity, it exposes identity. Whatever is already inside you, fear or faith, discipline or chaos, generosity or greed, money will put it on display. So the real work is never about chasing money. The real work is about developing character, habits, and self-respect. Because when money shows up, it will not ask who you want to be. It will reveal who you've been becoming all along. Your income will never rise higher than your self-image. The invisible ceiling over your financial life is not set by the economy, your background, or your opportunities. It is set by how you see yourself. Long before money ever shows up in your hands, it shows up in your mind. If you secretly believe you are only worth so much, you will subconsciously reject anything beyond that level. You might work hard, you might even get close, but somehow the opportunity slips away, the deal falls apart, or the money disappears. Not because you aren't capable, but because your self-image won't allow you to keep what it doesn't believe you deserve. Self-image is the internal story you tell yourself when nobody is listening. It's the voice that says, people like me don't earn that much, or I'm not the type who succeeds at that level. That voice becomes a financial thermostat. Whenever your income starts to rise above what feels familiar, your behavior changes. You procrastinate, you undercharge, you hesitate, you sabotage. And then, without realizing it, you return to the level that matches how you see yourself. Not because you're weak, but because the mind always tries to stay consistent with identity. That's why education alone doesn't change income. Skill alone doesn't change income. Opportunity alone doesn't change income. People with the same skills can earn wildly different amounts because they carry different self-images. One sees themselves as a professional, the other sees themselves as just getting by. One expects abundance, the other expects struggle, and expectation shapes behavior. You negotiate differently. You walk into rooms differently. You speak with confidence or apology. The world responds not to your potential, but to the version of yourself you project. When your self-image expands, your income follows naturally. You stop asking for permission. You stop feeling guilty for wanting more. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You begin to invest in yourself, charge what you're worth, and walk away from situations that don't honor your value. Not out of arrogance, but out of clarity. Because once you see yourself as capable, deserving, and valuable, your actions align with that belief, and money simply becomes the evidence of that intent. R&L shift. So if you want to raise your income, don't start with tactics. Start with identity. Upgrade the way you see yourself. Rewrite the story you've been telling for years. Because the moment your self-image rises, your income no longer has a reason to stay small. Money responds to value, not need. The world does not reward desperation, no matter how sincere or painful it may be. You can need money with every fiber of your being, work long hours, and still struggle financially, not because you are lazy, but because need is not the currency the marketplace responds to. The marketplace responds to usefulness, to impact, to the ability to solve problems. Need creates emotion, but value creates exchange. And until value enters the equation, money has no reason to show up. Many people believe that working harder automatically leads to more income, but effort without value often goes unnoticed. Two people can work the same number of hours, yet earn vastly different amounts because E produces outcomes that matter more. Value is measured by results, not intentions. It's measured by how many lives you improve, how much pain you remove, how much time you save, or how clearly you solve a problem others are struggling with. The more significant the problem you solve, the more the world is willing to pay attention and pay in return. This is why complaining about circumstances never increases income. The market doesn't ask where you came from, what you've been through, or how unfair life has been. It asks one question only: what can you offer? When you increase your skills, sharpen your thinking, and deepen your understanding, you increase your value. And when your value increases, money follows naturally, not instantly, not magically, but inevitably. Understanding this truth is liberating, not cruel. It shifts power back into your hands. You stop waiting to be rescued and start investing in yourself. You stop focusing on what you lack and start building what you can. You study, you practice, you improve, and over time, your value compounds. Need keeps you stuck in survival mode. Value moves you into contribution mode, and contribution is where money lives. So the path to financial growth is not begging, wishing, or hoping. It is becoming more skilled, more aware, more effective, because money doesn't chase those who need it. Money flows toward those who create value and keeps flowing as long as that value remains. Being broke is something that can happen to anyone. A job loss, a bad decision, a setback, an unexpected responsibility. Life can drain your bank account without warning. Broke is temporary. It's a situation, a moment in time, a snapshot of where you are right now. But poor is something very different. Poor is not about money, it's about thinking. Poor is the belief that this is all life will ever be. It's the mindset that says this is just how things are and stops looking for a way forward. A poor mindset avoids responsibility and resists growth. It blames the economy, the system, other people, or the past, while doing the same things year after year. It rejects learning, fears change, and criticizes success because success challenges its excuses. A poor mindset sees opportunity as risk and discipline as punishment. It spends before it earns, complains before it creates, and quits before it commits. You can give money to this mindset and it will still end up empty because the thinking that created the problem was never corrected. A broke mindset, on the other hand, is honest and hungry. It says, I don't have money right now, but I won't stay here. It looks for lessons instead of victims. It asks better questions. It studies people who are ahead and learns from mistakes instead of repeating them. Someone who is broke but growing will read when others scroll, practice when others rest, and plan when others panic. They understand that where they are is not who they are. That's why some people stay. Poor even when money touches their hands, while others rise even when starting with nothing. The difference is not luck, it's perspective. Change the mindset, and the condition eventually changes. But keep the mindset. And no amount of money will ever be enough, because broke is something you experience, but poor is something you decide to stay. Money is not pulled toward wishes, affirmations, or hope alone. It responds to who you are becoming, not what you are wanting. Many people focus on attraction, thinking if they think positively enough or desire strongly enough, money will somehow find them. But money is not emotional, it is practical. It moves toward competence, consistency, and contribution. You don't draw it in by chasing it. You earn its presence by growing into the kind of person who can handle it, multiply it, and sustain it. Becoming worthy of money is an internal process long before it is a financial one. It means developing discipline when no one is watching, building skills that create real results, and honoring commitments even when it's uncomfortable. Money looks for structure. If your life is disorganized, your habits are inconsistent, and your thinking is scattered, money will pass through your hands quickly or avoid you altogether, not as punishment, but as protection. Money stays where it is respected. Worthiness is not about perfection, it's about preparedness. When you raise your standards, improve your habits, and sharpen your abilities, you send a signal to the world that you are ready for more responsibility. And money is responsibility. It requires decision-making, emotional control, and long-term thinking. That's why sudden wealth often disappears. It arrives before the person has grown enough to carry it. Growth must come first. Money follows second. When you focus on becoming more valuable, more reliable, and more intentional, money becomes a byproduct of your evolution. You no longer chase opportunities. You create them. You stop asking G for permission and start producing results. And at that point, money doesn't feel like something you're trying to get. It feels like something that naturally shows up because you've become the kind of person it belongs with. Comfort charges you quietly, slowly, and consistently until one day you look back and realize it cost you your dreams. Comfort tells you to stay where it's familiar, to avoid risk, to choose what feels safe instead of what helps you grow. It whispers, don't rock the boat, don't try too hard, at least this is stable. But what comfort never tells you is the price you'll pay later, in regret, in unrealized potential, in the haunting question of what if I had tried? Failure may hurt your pride for a moment, but comfort drains your future for a lifetime. Failure is loud, uncomfortable, obvious, but it's also temporary and instructional. When you fail, you learn, you adjust, you build resilience. Failure sharpens you. Comfort, on the other hand, dulls you. It slowly erodes your ambition and convinces you that average is acceptable. While failure pushes you to grow, comfort convinces you there's no need to. And over time, that lack of growth becomes far more painful than any single setback ever could be. Comfort keeps people stuck in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, and routines that no longer serve them. It makes people choose short-term ease over long-term fulfillment. It trades potential for predictability. And the tragedy is that comfort feels harmless until years pass and opportunities no longer knock. By then, the cost is compounded, not in money alone, but in confidence, courage, and belief in oneself. Failure asks for effort, humility, and persistence, but it pays you back with wisdom, strength, and clarity. Comfort asks for nothing up front, but collects everything later. That's why the bold move, the uncomfortable decision, the risk that stretches you is often the cheaper option in the long run. Because failure may bruise you, but comfort will bankrupt your future. Discipline is the quiet force behind every lasting financial success. It's not flashy, and it rarely gets applause, but it creates results that excuses never can. Excuses explain why something can't be done. Discipline focuses on what must be done anyway. The marketplace doesn't reward stories about obstacles. It rewards consistency, reliability, and follow-through. When discipline shows up daily, money eventually follows because discipline produces trust, and trust creates opportunity. Excuses feel comforting because they protect the ego. They shift blame to circumstances, timing, or other people. But excuses also keep you stuck at the same income level year after year. Discipline does the opposite. It demands structure, showing up on time, managing money wisely, improving skills regularly, and making hard choices even when motivation is low. Discipline builds momentum, and momentum attracts results. Money doesn't respond to what you intend to do. It responds to what you repeatedly do. Discipline also governs how money is kept, not just how it is earned. Many people make money and lose it because they lack the discipline to manage it. Impulse spending, emotional decisions, and short-term thinking break trust with money. But when you budget, save, invest, and plan, you create an environment where money feels safe to stay and grow. Discipline sends a signal that resources will be handled with respect and purpose. In the end, money aligns with those who take ownership of their lives. Discipline says, I'm responsible regardless of circumstances. Excuses say, it's not my fault. One builds power, the other builds stagnation. And over time, money consistently chooses the path of discipline because discipline creates results that excuses never will. Every financial situation you live with today is in some way something you have learned to accept. Tolerance sets the standard for your life. When you tolerate L, 8 payments, chronic debt, under-earning, or financial chaos, you silently tell yourself, this is normal for me. And once something becomes normal, it stops feeling urgent to change. The danger is not the struggle itself. The danger is getting comfortable with it. What you allow to linger financially begins to feel permanent. Even when it doesn't have to be, tolerance slowly rewires expectations. If you keep accepting being underpaid, you stop negotiating. If you tolerate poor money habits, you stop questioning them. If you live paycheck to paycheck for too long, survival becomes your identity instead of a phase. Over time, tolerance dulls dissatisfaction. You stop being angry enough to change, hungry enough to grow, or bold enough to demand more from yourself. And when that happens, financial growth doesn't just slow down, it stalls. Raising your financial standards is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Change begins the moment you say, I won't live like this anymore. That decisi enforces new behavior, learning skills, setting boundaries, budgeting, saving, investing, or walking away from situations that undervalue you. The moment you stop tolerating financial stress, confusion, or disrespect is the moment your mindset shifts from survival to ownership. And ownership is where progress begins. Money responds to standards. When you tolerate less, you receive less. When you demand better from yourself, your habits align with that demand. You don't change your finances by wishing. You change them by refusing to accept what no longer serves you. Because whatever you tolerate today doesn't just stay, it settles in. And the fastest way to change your financial future is to stop inviting conditions you no longer want to live with. The fear of loss is more powerful than the desire for gain. And for many people, it quietly controls every financial decision they make. This fear convinces them that holding on tightly is safer than stepping forward, that avoiding loss is wiser than pursuing growth. But in trying not to lose, they also refuse to win. They stay on the sidelines, watching opportunities pass by, telling themselves they are being cautious, when in reality they are being controlled by fear. Fear shrinks vision. It makes people focus only on what could go wrong instead of what could go right. It discourages learning, investing, starting, and expanding. People afraid of losing money avoid risks, but they also avoid progress. They choose guaranteed stagnation over uncertain growth. Over time, this fear becomes self-fulfilling. By never taking calculated risks, they never develop confidence, experience, or momentum. And without momentum, winning is impossible. Winning financially doesn't mean reckless behavior. It means intelligent courage. It means understanding that money is a tool, not a treasure to be hidden. Every meaningful gain requires some level of risk, whether it's investing in skills, starting a venture, or backing yourself when no. one else does. Those who win are not fearless, they are trained. They manage risk, not avoid it. They learn from losses instead of being paralyzed by them. Fear keeps money frozen, and frozen money doesn't grow. Growth demands movement, decision-making, and trust in your ability to recover if things don't go perfectly. The moment you stop fearing loss more than you desire growth, your behavior changes. And when behavior changes, results follow. Because you can't win by protecting yourself from every loss. You win by learning how to move forward anyway. Money does not thrive in confusion. When your goals are unclear and your direction is scattered, money has nowhere to go and no reason to stay. Clarity gives money structure. It tells your time, energy, and resources where to focus. People without clarity drift from idea to idea, opportunity to opportunity, spending without intention and earning without direction. But when clarity enters the picture, every decision becomes sharper. You know what to say yes to, what to say no to, and what truly matters. And money responds to that focus. Purpose gives money meaning. Without purpose, money wasted on impulse, image, and escape. With purpose, money becomes a tool, something to build, grow, and sustain a vision bigger than the present moment. Purpose creates patience. It allows you to delay gratification, invest long-term, and endure short-term discomfort because you know why you're doing it. When your actions are aligned with a clear purpose, money stops leaking through emotional decisions and starts accumulating through intentional ones. Clarity and purpose also shape how others perceive you. People trust those who know where they're going. Opportunities, partnerships, and resources are drawn to individuals who communicate vision with confidence. When you are clear, you move decisively. When you move decisively, you create momentum. And momentum attracts money, not by chance, but by design. In the end, money doesn't just grow because you want more of it. It grows because your life has direction. When clarity defines your path and purpose fuels your actions, money has a role to play. And when money has a role, it multiplies. Goals are what you say you want, but habits are what you prove you want. Anyone can set a goal, write it down, and talk about it with passion, but habits are the daily behaviors that either support that goal or silently sabotage it. The world does not respond to intentions. It responds to patterns. You may say you want financial freedom, growth, or success, but your habits reveal whether you're truly committed or just hopeful. What you do repeatedly speaks far louder than what you say occasionally. Habits shape outcomes because they operate even when motivation disappears. Motivation comes and goes, but habits stay. If your habits include procrastination, poor money management, inconsistency, or avoidance, those behaviors will overpower even the strongest goals. On the other hand, disciplined habits, learning daily, saving consistently, improving skills, showing up on time, compound over time. Small actions repeated over months and years create results that big goals alone never can. Many people get frustrated because they set goals and see no change. The problem isn't the goal. It's the routine attached to it. You cannot live one way and expect results from another. Habits are the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. They translate desire into reality. Without the right habits, goals remain wishes. When you align your habits with your goals, progress becomes inevitable. You stop relying on bursts of effort and start building systems that support success. Over time, your habits create momentum, and that momentum creates confidence. In the end, it's not the goal you set that defines your future. It's the habits you practice every day. Money does not arrive randomly, and it does not reward entitlement. It flows toward those who make themselves useful. Service is the starting point. How many people you help, how deeply you help them, and how consistently you show up to meet real needs. When your focus shifts from what can I get to who can I serve, your value immediately increases. Service builds trust, and trust creates demand. The more lives you impact, the more opportunities open in return. Skill gives service substance. Good intentions alone are not enough. They must be backed by competence. Skill is developed through practice, repetition, failure, and learning when it's inconvenient. As your skill level rises, the quality of your service improves, and so does your income. Highly developed skills solve problems faster, better, and with greater precision. That's why specialists earn more than generalists. Skill creates leverage, and leverage attracts money. Courage is what activates both service and skill. Many people have the ability to help and the talent to contribute, but they lack the courage to act. Courage is required to step forward, to charge for your value, to ask for opportunities, to risk rejection, and to keep going when outcomes are uncertain. Without courage, service stays hidden and skill stays unused. Courage. Put your value into the world. When service meets skill and courage backs them both, money has a clear reason to follow. Not because you chase it, but because you've earned its attention. Money simply becomes the result of contribution, mastery, and bold action working together. Language is not just communication, it is instruction. The words you repeatedly use about money become commands to your mind. When you constantly say things like, "I'm bad with money, money is hard to get, or I'll never be rich," you are not just expressing frustration, you are setting limits. Your mind accepts repetition as truth, and once it accepts something as true, it begins to act in alignment with it. Over time, your financial behavior quietly adjusts to match the story you keep telling. Negative money language creates invisible barriers. It trains you to avoid responsibility, to expect struggle, and to justify small thinking. Even jokes about being broke or careless with money reinforce identity. Why? Our brain doesn't know the difference between humor and belief. It only knows patterns. And those patterns shape decisions, how you spend, how you earn, how you invest, and how you respond to opportunity. You move toward what you verbalize most. Positive, intentional language doesn't mean pretending or denying reality. It means directing it. When you say, "I'm learning how money works," or "I'm becoming better with money," you create openness instead of resistance. Your focus shifts from limitation to improvement. You begin to notice opportunities, seek knowledge, and take responsibility. Your words start to align your thoughts, and your thoughts guide your actions. Over time, this internal programming becomes external results. The way you speak shapes the way you think. The way you think shapes the way you act, and the way you act shapes your financial future. Money listens to your language long before it shows up in your life. Speak in a way that builds, not in a way that traps you where you are. Real wealth grows quietly, away from applause and public validation. It is built in private decisions, disciplined routines, and long-term thinking, not in constant announcements or curated highlights. Social media celebrates appearance over substance, visibility over stability. It rewards looking successful, not necessarily being successful. But true wealth doesn't need an audience. It needs focus, patience, and restraint. While attention is loud, progress is quiet. Public performance often distracts from private progress. When people feel pressured to show results too early, they rush, overspend, or take unnecessary risks just to maintain an image. They confuse attention with achievement. Meanwhile, those truly building wealth are studying, planning, reinvesting, and delaying gratification, often unnoticed. They understand that growth takes time and that exposure can invite comparison, distraction, and ego-driven decisions. Silence also protects strategy. When you move quietly, you avoid outside opinions that can weaken confidence or distort direction. You're less tempted to compete and more likely to commit to your own path. Wealth builders focus on fundamentals, cash flow, skill development, compounding, and systems. None of these are glamorous in the beginning, but they are powerful over time. In the end, wealth reveals itself when the work is done, not while it's being done. The loudest voices are rarely the most secure. True financial strength doesn't need constant proof. It shows up in freedom, stability, and peace of mind. And those things are built quietly, one disciplined decision at a time. Self-respect sets the foundation for every financial decision you make. When you value yourself, you set boundaries on what you will accept and what you will no longer tolerate. You stop undercharging, overgiving, and apologizing for your worth. You don't chase situations that diminish you, and you don't stay in environments that drain your energy. This internal standard shapes your external reality. Money responds to standards, and self-respect is the highest one. People who respect themselves invest in themselves. They are willing to learn, to improve, and to grow, even when it costs time, effort, or discomfort. They understand that money is not just earned, it is managed, protected, and multiplied. Self-respect shows up in how you handle finances, budgeting instead of avoiding, planning instead of reacting, saving instead of wasting. These behaviors create stability, and stability invites growth. A lack of self-respect leads to financial chaos. It shows up as impulsive spending, settling for less than you're capable of, or staying stuck out of fear. When you don't believe you deserve better, you don't pursue better. But when you carry yourself with dignity and confidence, opportunities respond. You negotiate differently. You walk away when necessary. You choose long-term gain over short-term comfort. Money aligns with people who honor themselves because those people honor responsibility. They don't abuse resources or rely on luck. They build systems. Over time, money becomes not just something they earn, but something that stays and grows. Because when you respect yourself, your actions reflect that. And money follows behavior long before it follows desire.